everyone, welcome to the SpeedCreep YouTube channel. If you're just now joining me, you don't know anything about the car, quick recap. I've got a 1972 Chevelle right here. Had it over 20 years, never touched it. It's just been sitting in my side yard dying. Finally decided, you know what, this year's the year. So I started this project in early winter, about October-ish. And my idea was spend the least amount of money to do a full restoration project and make a street family cruising car and do it in a very short time frame compared to how most people end up taking a long time doing it. So I'm trying my best to start in October, trying to at least drive the car down the driveway maybe in May. So we'll see how that goes. Got new floor pans, braces underneath, did a bunch of work on the chassis over there. Hopefully you can see. Just finished the transmission tunnel for the 6-speed out of the Corvette in the last video. So if you want to see any of that stuff, check out my previous videos and there'll be a link to the full playlist at the end of this video. But in this video, we're going to be filling up this gap. And by filling up that gap, we have to mount the fuel tank underneath the bottom of the Chevelle. So I got a bunch of new parts to go through. So we're going to check those out in just a minute. I'm going to show you what I got. Of course, if you don't know already, this is a powertrain out of a Corvette, 5.7 liter and a 6-speed. So to port injection, I need fuel pumps. So all of that I'll show you in just a minute. So this video, we're going to be working on fuel assembly, fuel pumps, fuel lines, all of that, fueling, plumbing. And I got a buddy stopping by this weekend. He's, I guess, a gruel for punishment and wants to come by and help me. So I think maybe I'll ask him if he wants to start working on fitting the seat. So we'll see if we can get the seat fitted. I was trying to keep the bench seat. I thought that would be fun to have a bench seat car. But with this transmission tunnel, there's going to be a lot of fabrication in the bench seat itself and all of the fabric on the bench seat to make it work, especially with the shifter. So maybe you'll see him working on that. All right, let's get started. What's going on, everybody? Sorry, not many updates going on. Me and Ray have just been enjoying actually working instead of filming, and you know, we're that weird type of friend where we like to work for fun, at least when it's on cool stuff like cars. So a little update, got the tank put together, and I went ahead and taped everything up so I didn't get any dirt in it. But here's the fuel sending unit, and then the send and return and vent lines coming out for the fuel pump. And then of course those are the fuel pump wires coming out. Tank fill. And if I haven't said it already, this is a Tanks fuel tank. They call it the EFI conversion tank for a 72 Chevelle. Supposedly it's exactly how it was stock. They just added the extra port for the fuel pump. Came with everything you needed, straps and whatnot, so we'll be putting that in a few minutes. Ray jumped over and started making a block off plate for this exhaust port for the emissions stuff, so he's finishing that up now. It went in right here and down to the exhaust, so we've taken that off and he's fabricating a plate right now to block that. What else did we do? I drilled a new hole for the e-brake hanger. Since I ended up turning this thing around, it's backwards now. I put it on this side. That was the original hole, so I basically just mimicked it. Got that finished up. What else? We did a bunch of little stuff. Got the header bolts, tested those. Those seem to be working fine. The new engine mount bolts are in from ARP. Those are really nice. I know ARP stuff's a little bit more expensive, but it's a super nice bolt. So when I can fathom using it, I definitely do. I think once we get this plate on, we're going to put the tank in, and then we're probably going to end up putting the chassis underneath the car. So that's what we'll do next. I didn't know if you wanted to be in the video. I don't know. Hey everyone, sorry it's been kind of a hectic time-lapse kind of few minutes for you guys. Like I said, I had a buddy of mine, Ray, stop over. Ray, appreciate you, man. I had a blast. It's always good to have a friend in the shop. It gets quiet and meticulous, or monotonous, I should say, in here sometimes. So when he said he wanted to come up, hang out, and turn some wrenches, I was like, by all means, please do, brother. So Ray actually goes back pretty far with me, one of my oldest friends, and he is also, I think, probably one of maybe two people that know this car and know its origin story. Ray actually rode in this car with me the day that I bought it, when it was blue. I'll pop up a little picture on here of me smiling when I was like 14. Ray might have even taken that picture. But yeah, me and him would cruise down our lane and rip on it, and thought it was awesome. So he's been with me as long as the car's been with me. So over 20 years of this thing sitting. So he's excited as well to see this thing finally getting some life back in it. So yeah, I appreciated him coming over. I had a blast. Had a lot of little stuff that we did, but good stuff that needed to get done. Ray did a bunch of fab work for me while he was here. He actually does a lot of that stuff for a living, so it was cool to have some of his expertise messing with some of this stuff. I'm gonna try to go through and list everything we did, but I'm sure I'll miss some of it. Of course, we got the car back on the chassis, messing with the engine. Tidied up a lot of the stuff. I cleaned the engine really well. I know it probably doesn't look like it, but it is, a lot of the grime is gone. I didn't paint anything, but I kind of like how it's just clean and raw looking. So got a lot of the gunk off of it. Went to go put it back in, removed this exhaust port. That's crappy emission stuff from the factory. Ray actually fabricated that for me. I still need to put a proper plug in here. What else did we do? Cleaned up a lot of stuff, tested the header bolts. They work great. Got the headers kind of soft mounted on either side of the car, and really shows you how much clearance I have on this distribution block, which I'm going to have to do something with that later on. All right, let's see, what else did we do? First thing Ray did for me, thank goodness he did it. That was a messy job. I appreciate it, is he took my bench seat apart and gutted it, and it was an absolute mess. So I'm glad that he took that on. That is not a fun job. But speaking of the seat, as you can see, it looks a little strange. My goal with this build was to have a family cruiser, and one of the things I thought would be cool would be to keeping the bench seat. But as you can tell, keeping the bench seat with a Corvette 6-speed is going to be a little tricky, because it comes really far back into the cab of the car. So typically the seat sits about right here. Here are the bolts. So if you follow just inside this ridge, the frame actually goes even further forward. So it was about right there. And then of course the cushion comes up and bows out. So it was really interfering with that. So I was almost positive I wouldn't be able to use it, but I really wanted to, because I think it's just cool. It adds to the character of the car, and I like a bench seat. Call me old school, but it's just better. Your honey can scooch over next to you, and that's what this car is all about. So we decided, once Ray took this seat apart, that it is basically trash. It is rotten, almost beyond, or actually beyond repair. Every single piece of it. I thought it was just this front piece, but every little piece, the further I look at it, I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but every little corner of it is just rotten. And that's my fault for leaving it outside, but regardless, it is rotten and is unusable. If I was going to get a bench seat, I would either buy a new frame or try to find another bench seat that's just not rotten. So since this one was trash, I was like, well, let's throw it in there and see how I can fit it. So I threw it in there, and of course, like I just showed you before, all of that ran into the shifter. Now, if you can't visualize this, the seat goes like this. So I just kind of have it tilted back. So that's where the shifter would go. So I was like, well, you know what? Let's try to mock some stuff up with this trash frame. So I cut the frame and pulled the frame back, and then this bar typically goes straight across. So I sliced the center, bent it back on either side, and then ran the springs down. Now I didn't do all this, you know, hard mounted and like I'm actually going to use it in the car. I just did it kind of temporary. So I threw some zip ties on it just to see if the theory would work. And I'm actually missing one of the springs here. But like this, just moving that back, it actually fits in the car really nicely. Honestly, I can probably cut even less here, maybe come in at like a 45, put it in the car. Me and him actually sat on this seat with some towels, and I could shift through all the gears, and it was actually in the perfect location. And it's kind of cool because it's a custom seat. So I actually think I'm going to go further and try to make this happen. So I'm on the lookout for a new seat frame. Hopefully I can find a used one that's not crazy expensive and in good shape. And I'm going to do this and just treat it a lot nicer when I did it. And maybe I can make all this work, because how cool would it be to have a custom bench seat in this car? Just another little custom item. So we're going to work on that. That gives me a lot of hopes for the seat situation. What else did we do? I had some broken off bolts in this power steering box. I know it's not a whole lot to see, but I basically had to extract 2 bolts out of that. Got that done. What else did we do today? I had a hole to drill in the transmission crossmember for the hook that holds the emergency cable. I did that. I changed out the the engine mount bolts for the new ARPs. So that fits perfectly. And we tidied up a lot of stuff. So when it comes down to it, we did a lot of stuff. Might not look like it, but that's how car building goes. So I think, the fuel tank. Obviously, how could I forget that? That's like one of the biggest things. So got the fuel tank installed. It was a very tight fit in between the frame. We got that installed. I think I showed you guys that while it was out of the car, so you should have a good idea what it looks like. So I got the fuel tank and the engine. Now I need to work out running the fuel lines from the tank to the engine. So I've got that on order. It actually says it's supposed to be here tomorrow. So hopefully it'll show up tomorrow. And the next thing you guys will see will be me plumbing the fuel lines from the tank to the engine. And then I need to do some wiring, figure out an alternator, figure out a belt situation, and hopefully get this thing running some kind of soon. So, all right, let's wait on those parts, those fuel lines and fittings and adapters, and I'll show you everything I got to make that work, because that was an actual hassle. So I'll try to inform you guys of what I did, so maybe it'll help you if you're trying to do this kind of EFI trickery. All right. Hopefully we'll have some parts here in just a few seconds. All right, everyone. I've been waiting for fittings to show up to finish off this video and this fuel system. I had a handful of them show up. The rest of them should be here in a couple days. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've been getting kind of sidetracked. Went ahead and started on the next video. Got the engine harness stuff out. Been messing with some engine components, but you'll have to wait till the next video to see that kind of stuff. So we will jump back on and try to finish up this fuel system. So I got the Russell's ProFlex series hose here. Had ordered 2 bundles of 20 foot. Got a few fittings. Got the adapters for the fuel tank, adapters for the fuel rail, and I have these for the fuel filter. And of course I ordered the aluminum wrenches to go with it so I didn't mar these aluminum fittings up. So that's what they look like. That's what I got. Pretty cool stuff. Not cheap stuff, but pretty much if you need it, they make it in this style adapter and fitting combo. This is an AN fitting, Army and Navy fitting. They're measured in numerical value of like -6, -4, -8, and that just means of 16th. So 6 16ths, 3/8, 8 16ths, 10 16ths, and so on. So I did -6 AN fittings. That allowed me to find, like this particular one goes to the fuel rail of this 89 Corvette motor with an O-ring, and then adapts it to the -6 male side. So I'll be able to come in here and then run this actual -6 fitting. Will go on here, and then this accepts the hose. So that allows me to go from one side to the other, back to the fuel tank. Same thing. This is the -6 side. So I have another one of these with the hose on it. That'll go -6. And then this adapter is made to fit 1/4 NPT thread, which is what my fuel tank has. So it allows me to take, that's a metric fitting, into a standard style fitting, and then add all kinds of stuff in between. So that's why I chose to go with it. It's not the cheapest route, but I do think it should be the best, cleanest, and hopefully the longest lasting route, but we shall see. So let's go ahead and get started on some of this while we're waiting for the rest of the fittings to show up. Hopefully they'll be here seamlessly. You won't even notice it in the video. First thing I need to do is get this thing back in the air, drop the fuel tank down so I can access the fittings on top of it. So that's what we'll do now. Got some shiny new bits on the car. It's not completed, obviously, but I wanted to show you guys what I had. I guess let me get a flashlight so you can actually see what I'm looking at here. Well, before I'm going to set this down, this is my little fuel filter. I'll show you where I'm going to think about putting that. But so that I can hold the flashlight, I'm going to set it down. Obviously, we got the fuel tank back in the car. The metal straps are holding it, but I just left these on there just in case I need to drop it back down. But anyways, wired up. These two wires here are for the fuel sender unit. Went ahead and put those on there so that I can connect to them later without dropping the tank. And then these two wires here are for the fuel pump. As you can see, hopefully, I've got, get the flashlight on there. I got the two stainless braided lines coming out. The one right there on the left, which is the passenger side, is the return. The driver's side right one is the supply. And they're not connected, so don't mind the path completely, but I've got them running up here. I think I'm gonna go on top of the shock tower, come down frame, stay above this 4-link, and then drop inside the frame right here. They tuck up in there kind of nicely, and then stay inside the frame. I'm thinking that's probably where I'm going to put that fuel filter, either just inside here or right here on this plate. I think, just thinking like servicing the car on the side of the road, if I had a clogged fuel filter, how could I get to it? If it was mounted right here underneath the passenger door, I could do it on the side of the road, pop it off if I had a clogged fuel filter, or at least test that pretty easily. So I think that's probably where I'm going to put it. Then we continue inside the frame to about right here where the frame closes off, and then I'm thinking we go on top of the frame, staying away from the exhaust pipe. So if we do that, that puts us on top of the frame, and right here is kind of just where I stopped because they need to go right there into those two ports. So I'll have to wait till the car gets down and I get all the other fittings to complete that. So I got them separated and just hanging from the frame right now. But it's pretty cool seeing some stainless braided lines in here. That looks pretty good. Looks like they'll run pretty well. Nobody will ever see it, but I'll know it's up under here, so it'll be cool. One step closer. All right, let's get some more fittings. Also, I need to figure out where to put this vent. I just got it kind of tied up right here. I'm not real sure yet. So we'll see about the vent. For now, that's where we'll stop. Hopefully, next thing you'll see is me using these fittings with about 7 other fittings, and hopefully completing the fuel system. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean I'm gonna be able to fire the car up, because I was going to do that next, but I'm thinking it'll be best to have the engine ready to run for like 30 minutes versus like an old school small block. You could just fire it up for 2 or 3 minutes with no radiator or anything, just to see if it'll run. But with the FiTech system, it seems like they want you to start it up and let it run and let it learn. So I'm thinking I'll have to iron out the accessories, I'll have to put the radiator on, a lot of little stuff to get that going. But at least the fuel system will be there and it'll be working so that when I do tap into it, it's done. And it looks like dinner just got here. So I'm heading inside. Thank you guys for watching. Bear with me. I will wrap up this video soon with the full fuel system, and then I'll give an overview of the AN fittings if I haven't already, because it is kind of a nightmare if you've never messed with it. But it does seem like a good system, so I'll give you an overview here at the end. Thank you guys. All right, wrapping up video for this one. I said I was gonna go through and give you an overview of the fuel system, so I will do that, but real quickly I wanted to comment on the comments from the last video. I had a few comments, quite a few comments, talking about maybe not solid mounting the transmission, that might not be a good idea. I never really planned on solid mounting it, but thanks for noting that. One guy mentioned hockey pucks, so I was thinking some form of movement right there where those washers are is what I'm going to go for. I haven't quite decided what material to go with yet, but that was more kind of just to get the drive shaft straight. So if you watched the last video, you know what I'm talking about. If not, go check it out. Thanks for the comments on that. And then one guy mentioned about moving the distribution block on the brakes because it's so close to the header, moving it up. Of course, that's possible, and that will kind of be more of a last resort if I have to do that, because I bought that entire brake kit. It's all pre-bent and I can't really move it with those lines, but if I have to move it, I'll have to remake those brake hoses, brake lines. So that's an option. I'm going to try some other things out first before I get to that. But thanks for commenting on those. Comment on this next video what you think about the fuel system. Is it as convoluted as it felt to me when I first started? Is it that convoluted to you? To me, it was kind of like witchcraft, the AN fittings, only because I'd never messed with them before. So I'm gonna try to give just a quick overview on the AN fittings, what I suggested, what I noticed, and you know, is it worth it, I guess. So comment below what you think. Unfortunately, I'm not finished with the fuel line, but I don't want to go any further until I get the accessories worked out, which I'm going to do on the next video, and get all that stuff ironed out, because I'm not sure exactly where I want these fuel lines to be ran until I get the accessories and some of the exhaust built together. And then honestly, maybe even the tunnels, the wheel tunnels, because I'm thinking, and probably the most easy way, this is where the tunnel goes for the Chevelle. If I just came up and rode the tunnel to about right here and then curved in, it's not great to have, you know, lines transversing from the car to the engine as far as aesthetics go, but that's probably the easiest route. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But a couple other options would be to dive underneath the frame, under the header, and then out below the engine mount and come up where the original fuel pump would have went, or a small block fuel pump would have went, and come up that direction. That would be kind of a slick design, so I might go that route. We'll see. And then the only other route was, I think, taking it on the passenger side of the engine, which I don't really want to do that because then you still have to cross the exhaust pipe, and I was trying to stay away from that. So I'll have to iron that out at the end. But I did put the fittings on, the adapters with the O-rings that go into the stock fuel rail, and then I have these 90s just sitting on here. That's what goes to the hose, so I can kind of decide where I want to put them. That's what I need to wait on to get all of this ironed out. So with the exception of that little tiny bit, I can at least talk about what I did, which you just watched on time lapse, which is going from the fuel tank out. One line goes to the fuel filter, comes out the fuel filter, the return stays steady, and then you get up to here and they go in. What I'm going to talk about is a couple of the tools that I bought. Let me shut this just in case it's blowing out the camera. Hopefully y'all can see a little bit better. I did this without any of these tools for the fuel tank, and I decided that that was not the route to go, because you just need more tools to do this AN stuff. And if you're messing with cars and you're doing unique fittings and adapters and all that stuff, I do think AN's probably the way to go, because they have the most choice of different type of adapters. Like I told y'all, metric and standard and MPT and all these different adapters that can go to AN lines. So I decided to invest in that because I know I'm going to be doing this stuff going forward, and I'm always going to need some type of adapter. So at least now I've invested in some of the AN hardware, and I know I can go that route. I'm sure there's other ways, but for me, it was worth it. So this is what I bought. Dash 6 is what I was using. So I bought 2 of the wrenches. You have to get at least 2, or I would at least recommend getting at least 2. The only reason you can't use these, you can, but it immediately mars up the fitting because all of this stuff is aluminum. So it's very soft. And of course, I guess if you don't care, sure, go for it. And it's the only time you're putting it on. But if you plan on taking it off at all, on and off, do any type of test fitting, the more you mess with this without aluminum wrenches, the more it's just going to get marred up and end up rolling over and become trash. So you pretty much have to buy those. Some of them are expensive. The full kits are definitely expensive. I figured I would just piece them together for right now. I bought the 6s. If I go to the next one and I happen to need some 8s, then I'll buy the 8s then, or you can buy the full kit that has all the different stuff. I just bought the ones I needed. A lot of people carry them. Jegs carries them, which is where I got most of my fittings. If you want to go do a higher end fitting, you can do with like Earls and stuff like that. But my opinion on tools needed. Main tool needed, without a doubt, is some type of good cutter. So I cut it with the Metabo cutoff wheel, and it frays the end so bad it is miserable to try to get it to work. So I said, if I'm going to do this, I need to get some proper tools. I read a bunch of reviews online, and everybody said this thing was a pretty good option. So I will put the link for my tools and stuff below. It's just an Amazon link. It takes you to my tools tab, and you can go through the tools and at least see what I got. You don't have to get the same thing, but it's just an easy way to show you guys. I got these things off Amazon. They were pretty cheap. And first cut I made, absolutely beautiful. No stray wires coming off that stainless steel braided line, and it went into the fitting like butter. It made a 25-minute fitting like this turn into a 2-minute tops with ease. Went straight into the bottom and seated perfectly. So 100% worth it in my opinion. And then I saw a lot of good stuff about this Koul Tools, Koul Tools. I also have that in that Amazon link below if you want to look at it. This is just basically like a piston ring collapser when you're putting pistons back in the bore. It just has a tapered end. So you take this apart, which I guess if I'm going to show you, I might as well show you. Take this apart real quick. Turn you over here so you can actually see me take it apart. Sorry, not a professional, but this would be a standard fitting. You can have straight, 45, 90, 60 degrees, whatever you want. That's how it comes. You take the end of the fitting off. And this is the kind of bread and butter of these fittings for the hose side. So the flat side will go to the fitting itself. The tapered side is where the hose goes in, and there's a little tiny boss down at the bottom. So the first thing you have to do is cut the line, this stainless braided hose where you need it, and then you have to fit all of that in 3/4 of the way up until it hits against this boss. But in order to do that, those steel braided lines want to flare out on you really, really bad. So when you stick it in here, this is tapered like a cone, and it all pulls that stainless steel in nice and tight. They give you little spacers because you don't want this fitting jumping around. On dash 6, it seems to be 2 little washers. Keep this from moving. Good to go. This little block pins together. You can put it down into your vise, and you basically just give it a few twists, and this thing immediately goes all the way to the bottom. So that was definitely worth it. I would 100% recommend buying that. Once you get the hose in there, you have to use some type of lube. You can buy special stuff, sure, go for it. I happen to have this laying around. It's a multi-purpose synthetic lubricant. I put that on the threads, and then I put it down inside the hose itself. That helps an absolute ton because there's an immense amount of heat that gets created when you're pushing this together because it's essentially expanding that hose inside while you're rotating it. So it gets very, very hard, and you will start to mar things up if you don't have lubrication in there. It's still pretty hard with lubrication, so put that on there and make sure it doesn't push the hose out while you're doing it. Just wrap a piece of blue tape or something around it. You push this all the way in, and I forget it. I think it's like 30 thousandths or something. You want to be somewhere in there. Look up the specs. But you basically almost want this touching. You want it very, very close to touching or touching itself. So you don't really want a big gap there. You don't want to have it like this. That's just too much. So get down in there until it's very, very close, and then I just lined the flats up and left it like that. And of course the 6-6 side is very, very simple. No threaded tape, no goop, no nothing. You just tighten them together. The fittings themselves are really good. The other thing I bought, so purchased 1 for tools. I think that was worth it. Purchased 2 for tools, definitely worth it. 3 for tools, worth it. Aluminum jaws. So you don't have to get them, but again, it's just like the wrenches. And this jaw set is a cheap one off Amazon. It's on the link below. It already fits. So you can slide stuff in like this, hold it, and then push down on the hose. And then once you get it back, you can hold the hose, put your fitting down in there and tighten it. That way the hose doesn't push out the bottom. You can have one hand on the hose, one hand on the fitting. It just makes everything really nice. This was fairly cheap. I think you can look below, but I think it was like, I don't know, 15 bucks for this, like $28 for these. I forget what these were. They're kind of expensive. I think it was $12 per wrench. And I don't remember what this was, but it wasn't outrageous. It was definitely worth it. I think that's probably a pretty good novice tool set for AN fittings. I would 100% recommend at least that. You can get by without it, but if you're going to do more than 2 fittings, purchase some stuff, and that way you can do it later on. It definitely makes the process a lot nicer, a lot neater. The only other fittings that I have to do, other than the ones I just showed you, are these. And that is the power steering pump. So that's what I mean by if I'm going to start using this stuff, I need tools. Because you can actually use this for anything. You can use it for transmission line, you can use it for power steering pumps, radiator hoses, all kinds of stuff. So I'm actually taking the Corvette pump. I got an adapter to fit the Corvette style pump. And then I'm going to run the hose to the stock Chevelle steering box. So there you go. That's a unique setup. I would have to do all this stuff with the accessories to get it to work. But since AN makes all these adapters, I can use a stock fuel pump, power steering pump, and then keep the serpentine system. So that's, to me, worth it. The fuel system is not cheap. Most certainly not cheap. Here's all the jigs, adapter boxes, and it seems like every time I ordered one, I'd forget one. So I guess that comes with the territory. The more you get used to using it, the more you'll be familiar with what fittings you need and how many of them you need. So being a novice on it, it was a big learning curve. Where to go, what to get. That's my opinion. I went to Jegs. Stuff was fairly cheap in its own right. The hose system, that's a whole nother ball game. You got like, was it PTFE, which is like ethanol and stuff like that. I ended up ordering the Russells. In my opinion, it was the best version that wasn't PTFE that I think will work for me. That was pretty expensive. I got like $300 worth of just hose. But would I do it again? Yes, I would do it again. Is it cheap? No. Is it worth it? I think so. Learning curve, time frame. It took more time to learn it and make sure I ordered all the right fittings than it did to actually install it. So I imagine that's one of those things that now that I'm gaining some knowledge on it, the whole process will go a lot faster. Yeah, that's it. That's the fuel system wrapped up, at least for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. It means a lot. I appreciate it. I actually did a little side quest today and went and got a bench seat from Northern Virginia. Met a pretty cool dude. He's got a YouTube channel. I will at least write it in the description below, or if I can figure out how to tag him, I'll tag him so y'all can watch him. He's actually got some really cool projects. Very good painter. I think it's Carter's Customs Garage. I'll put it below on the screen. Check him out. He gave me a really good deal on an old Nova seat that I think I'm going to be able to make work. So I appreciate it, Carter's. If you're looking or watching, I appreciate you watching, bud. Yeah, let's move on to the next video. Next video is going to be putting together all of the accessories, the radiator, getting everything ready to run with the exception of the Phytech system, because then that's going to be the video after that, which I already started to spill it out here because I really want to get this car running. I'm running out of time on my kind of loose time frame. So, all right, appreciate you watching. If you're subscribed, I appreciate that as well. If you're not subscribed, please consider it. It's free. I do all kinds of stuff. Just look through my channel. I'm all about doing all kinds of different things. I just like to have a good time and create stuff and learn new things. So appreciate you watching. Catch you next Sunday at 5 o'clock. Have a good one.